Hey, War Pugs. So, every once in a while, you take a look at a screenshot or a short video, or you watch me screaming like a child, and then you wonder, what exactly is it about a bear, a duck, a rabbit, and a fox? It looks like he spent too much time by the dumpsters at Walmart in a shady part of town. And what you come up with is Five Nights at Freddy's. And here's the thing, if we're talking about Five Nights at Freddy's, there's only one person that I need to talk to about all this, and that will be Meep Meep. Say hi, Meep Meep.
Hello, I go by many names. Meep Meep is just one of them. You could call me the Mimic, given the amount of names I have.
We'll just call him a Zinchian Changeling for now. So, what's going to happen here is, this is from Mr. Illustrated. Meep Meep asked me to check this out the other day, and I thought it might be good to bring him along to explain anything that I was a little bit back on, because it's Five Nights at Freddy's, and he literally calls himself in Discord the local Five Nights at Freddy's fanatic. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Never mind.
Yes. Now, so Warpugs, this is Mr. Illustrated, and like, just an amazing channel for anything SCP related. First off, I can't wait for the next installment of When Day Breaks. But he started branching out from SCP about a year or so ago, and it's been phenomenal since then. It was phenomenal before, but now we have so much more that he has done. It's the first time in quite a bit of time that I've actually seen anything from him, though, so this is going to be very, very interesting to see how he's evolved. So, with that being said, guys, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and just let me know when you want me to pause it, bud, or do you want to give me some background into this? Because this is what happens when you're spring-locked in Five Nights at Freddy's.
Well, for one, the image you're looking at is not a spring lock incident, because this is the second video in his Five Nights at Freddy's kind of like duo series. The first one was about what happens if you get caught in the first game, where they forcefully shove you inside one of those suits, which is not designed for human habitation. And that's what you're seeing right there is the result of that.
Ah, okay. So not good times. Not good times.
Oh, of course not. But I can assure you, what we're about to see is kind of gore-laden, and I say that because the FNAF franchise is really good with being subtle with its horror. Like, back when FNAF was released, all you could know about horror is that it's a gore fest. There's always intestines or something like that.
Right.
FNAF was different in that it keeps that under the rug and kind of just lets your imagination do the talking.
All right. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, the worst gore was your eyes popping out in the game over screen in the first game, and the pixelated blood of, like, the worst we got was that child get bitten in the head.
Right. Well, let's jump right into it. Here we go. What happens when you're spring locked in Five Nights at Freddy's? Guys, Mr. Illustrated, if you've never seen him before, get ready to have a little bit of fun.
The idea of being forced into an animatronic suit, of being crushed in the process, of having your balls splattered into jelly and your eyes forced out of your skull is...
Did he really have to just go at it like that? I mean, damn.
I'll be honest, I have not seen that video, so I have not seen how descriptive he got.
Well, his scripting has gotten a little bit more cryptic. Let's go.
One that would make most people wince and squirm. But what if I told you there is another method of death in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe that would give even that a run for its money? This is Mike, and he just got another new job at the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Company. This time, he is entertaining the children. How, you ask? Well, dear viewer, he will be dressing as a mascot using the Golden Bonnie Springlock suit. I think we all know where this is going.
No.
But before we get into the lore and gore, a quick word from today's sponsor.
Okay.
Boats.
Boat. Oh god, this is the best part. This is the best. I already know what's going to happen. It is so fun. Hello, governor. Oh
yeah.
Cruisers suck. Off to a great start.
This video is sponsored by World of Warships.
It's so fun.
Now, have you ever wanted to destroy...
Like, just Just getting a Japanese destroyer, come out from behind an island and start cursing them in chat as many all caps as you can. You're gonna die to the secondaries, but who cares?
You can tell that torpedo didn't suffer from projectile dysfunction.
That was horrible. You should feel ashamed. You should feel very ashamed for that one.
Let me go crawl into a spring lock suit and die real quick.
No!
Destroy a battleship, but don't have the money. Or a time machine? Well, World of Warships has got you covered, dear viewer. It's a free-to-play PC title with insane graphics for the $0 price tag, more than 40 different 12v12 arenas, and more than 500 ships across 5 different classes. And the insane thing is, they keep updating this. New ships, new nations, cosmetics, classes, the works. You've got battleships, the destroyers, the cruisers, the aircraft carriers, and the submarines, because fuck the enemy team, am I right? This is about strategy and knowledge. The weather and the objectives can all change on a dime, and they will impact how you play. There is a realistic delay from when you fire to when the shell lands, so you need to know where your target will be when your shell lands, or you've just wasted a shot. And that can mean the difference from sinking a ship or being sunk by one. The community here is electric, by the way. Join the discussions and you'll find passionate players to play with and recreate famous battles, and even get involved on some of the tournaments if you're up for it.
I just, for me, it's just a lol troll with Japanese destroyers. I can't do anything else. I will lol troll with Japanese destroyers.
I'm guessing you inhabit the Japanese spirit very well when it comes to a certain tactic they use.
Dude, I will start screaming at the top of my lungs. The amount... I got so good back in the day at playing Japanese destroyers, because I will just sit there and I will just hide, I will ambush, and then... the enemy team will be feeling good about itself. My favorite run I ever had was an enemy team had a Yamato. And this thing was just laying paint. It took out 3 ships in the time it took me to get close to it. It didn't know I was there. And so I come around an island. I'm within 4K when I fire my torpedoes, and it hasn't even realized I'm there. Just complete one shot. I didn't care.
Bonus damage for the surprise attack.
Oh yeah, you're going to go down fast, and I'm going to be screaming in laughter.
Do not be disheartened, it's on console too, see here? Download the game now from the link in the description and use the code WARSHIPS to get a bunch of exclusives, including more credits, more doubloons, and your very own ship. Firstly, we need to establish a little bit of backstory on the Springlock suits.
Okay.
In the early 1980s, Fredbear's family diner was opened with 2 Springlock animatronic suits, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. There was no band of merry animatronics or any of the other numerous characters that seem to appear out of the fucking ether with every new game and piece of media. Now, the Fredbear suit would go on to cause the Bite of 83, where a child was placed into the mouth of the Fredbear suit as a joke by his brother and his friends, only for the suit to then malfunction and crush his head in its jaws. It would appear that the child...
Well, that makes for a honey-baked ham Christmas.
It's even worse knowing... It's even worse knowing that his brother, who was wearing the Foxy mask in that scene, goes on to become the night guard you play as.
Say what? No. I'm leaving that at the door.
Yes,
I'm leaving that at the door.
Yes, it's probably the best idea. That's going to make the difference between this being a 20-minute video and a 4-hour video.
Yeah, let's leave that at the door.
Instantly, or at least was paralyzed from the neck down. However, a few Easter eggs in the game, coupled with an end screen, suggest actually the child survived, at least for a while, before succumbing to his injuries. The Spring Bonnie costume has a much more morbid history that many of you will already be aware of if you watched my previous video. The Spring Bonnie costume was eventually used by a man called William Afton, who lured 5 children away from a birthday party into a secluded back room. William then murdered the children and proceeded to hide their bodies in some spare animatronic suits. By this point, the infamous cast of Bonnie, Chica, Foxy and Freddy were a part of the troupe, and they provided a suitable hiding place for the children's corpses.
Oh man.
After a series of Springlock failures in a sister location, the Springlock suits were decommissioned, and the Spring Bonnie suit was locked away in the safe room of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza after the place was shut down. However, sometime later, William Afton would return to the establishment and destroy the main animatronics in the hope that by doing so, the spirits of his victims that possessed the suits would leave. Sadly, this was not the case, and he attempted to hide inside the Spring Bonnie suit, only for it to malfunction and and snap shut with him still inside it. There is another theory I've seen floating about saying that William was seeking immortality and he was going to melt down the cursed animatronics endoskeletons to create soul-infused metal. But that is some deep end of the swimming pool kind of lore, and I don't have the skill or knowledge to delve into that right now.
What up?
And what he's saying about the whole soul-infused metal, that is going to be another thing we will leave at the door. That is also a link.
This sounds like Finding Nemo meets E.T. Okay.
The best way to put this is this franchise overshadowed its inspiration of Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese literally tried to use Five Nights at Freddy's to bolster its sales.
Oh, that's dumb.
Yes.
A long time later, and the Spring Bonnie suit was recovered by a company looking to create a horror-themed establishment around the events that happened at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Little did they know that the corpse of William Afton was still inside the suit, and his soul now possessed it. Right then, let's take a closer look at these suits. The fact these things even exist is the biggest fuck you to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. These are animatronic suits with a fixed metal endoskeleton inside them. The endoskeleton can be compressed and folded away by using a special hand crank to wind up the spring locks, allowing a human being to step into the suit and wear it like a normal mascot costume. The problem is, these spring locks are like, I don't know, made in fucking China or something. They've got no structural integrity and they're incredibly sensitive. The slightest bit of moisture or pressure on them can cause the spring locks to fail, and if they do, the occupant will be impaled on the metal parts and quickly begin to bleed out. Not exactly what you want to see at a family establishment, is it?
It's fun for the whole family.
In fact, a training tape supplied on how to use the spring lock suits correctly even states that if the spring locks should fail, the employee should try their best to leave the area before bleeding out so they don't affect the customer experience. How does this company get away with shit like this? Hey, if you get spring locked, please navigate away from the customers before dying. Hey, Night Guard, if you should happen to die on the job, we'll destroy all the evidence and then notify the authorities. Please sign here. On a related subject, there have been fatalities in connection to the Springlock suits. We're obviously aware of the bite of 83 and the death of the child. In the case of Spring Bonnie, now known as Spring Trap, the suit was both very old and it was stored in a room with a leak. The excess moisture plus years of neglect had caused the mechanical parts to degrade and rust. So when William Afton put it on, all those faults combined with his heavy breathing caused the spring locks to fail and kill him. Ironically, his soul was then bound to the Spring Bonnie suit, identical to the fate of the souls of the children he killed being bound to the animatronics their corpses were stashed inside. I've seen a few other theories on characters who may or who may not have died inside the...
What?
Yes, that guy is in the second game, and if he appears in your game, he crashes your game.
Nice.
Suits, such as the Shadow Bonnie character, but these are just speculative theories, so I'm going to omit these and instead ask you guys to comment below any other deaths you may know or have heard of. Back to our dear friend Mike. His first day was going pretty well. He was delivering cake and snacks to all the...
Interject here.
Go for it.
So, what he said about it basically being that these things were living death traps is kind of true. But as you could see, there's only ever like 2 confirmed deaths. There was one employee who died, and then there was William Afton. And William Afton's could be assumed to be due to the degradation of neglect and everything. What I find weird is they say... Oops, sorry, go ahead.
See, this is what bothers me. This is when it starts annoying me. Horror starts annoying me. Why in the bluest hell would you get inside one of these things? Ever?
Yeah, that's the thing I'm going to try and kind of dissuade.
Okay.
These things are not nearly as infamous about their danger as a lot of the fans like to put it as.
Okay.
There was only ever like one confirmed public case of these things going off. And almost immediately right after, the company decommissioned them, by which they just locked him away in a room.
Right.
And so the reliability of these things are actually surprisingly high, and we're talking about William, who was a co-owner of this place, and he wore this thing every day for who knows how many years, and not once did it trip or anything like that.
Okay.
So these things were are a lot more reliable than the franchise and the fans and the community like to point them out to be. It's just because it's like one of those things where you only get these parts of the event where the thing actually breaks.
Right. Okay. Well, let's keep going.
Happy children, and he even put on a show for them with the company of Fredbear up on stage. Soon enough, the time came for the cake to be brought out. He and Fredbear clapped as the children blew out the candles. Mike gave the children a farewell wave, as it was finally time for Bonnie to go and get some sleep now. The children were sad to see Bonnie leave, but Fredbear was already on stage with another song ready to get them all back in the party mood. A colleague told Mike to wait in the services room and that she would be along shortly to help him out of the suit. Mike carefully walked towards the spare parts room, making sure not to bump into any of the chairs or tables. He gently pushed open the door and stood in the middle of the room. Mike felt a bead of sweat run down his temple. It was hot in this suit, and it was hotter still in this room.
Oh, here we go.
There were no windows, and the air conditioning was being run exclusively into the party room to keep the children cool and happy. As the minutes trickled by, he felt more beads beginning to descend. He began to hear a very faint grinding sound, like metal straining. He exhaled sharply in frustration, sending a spittle of sweat that had collected on his lip outwards. As the sweat landed on the spring lock, the mechanism slipped out of place. Mike's entire world turned black. As the endoskeleton's face came loose and clamped around his head, he felt his eyeballs get crushed as the skeleton's globes were forced into his sockets. He felt his cheeks split and his teeth crack as the mouth segments swung out to meet each other inside his jaw. Two metal beams sprang out from either side, piercing his eardrums. At the same time, several large metal plates began crushing his head from all sides. He tried to yell, but he was already gargling his own blood, which spilled from his mouth and began trickling throughout the suit. More metallic clunks echoed around the room as the trickling blood started a chain reaction of multiple spring lock failures. Mike stood there, jerking in place as multiple metal beams and cogs began shooting through his soft tissues. He could feel metal probes forcing spinal segments through his body. He lost feeling below the waist, but the metal legs held him firm as his spinal cord was severed. He tried to scream again, but the air erupted from the holes in his chest, followed by a red mist from his pierced lungs. Another clunk echoed around the room as the hard plastic parts were driven through the holes into his body. The tears in his abdomen finally met as one, and his organs fell out into the suit. A final spring lock went in his crotch as his stomach acid spilled over it, and his nether regions were skewered. With every lock now open, the suit maneuvered itself into a default pose, with the mouth slightly open and one hand up in a waving position. Mike could not move. He could not speak. He could not hear. He could not see. All he could do was feel the pain and the life slowly draining from him and the shock setting in.
Once again, why the hell would you get
the event?
I don't care. Oh God, I don't care. Why would you get in this? What would possess you?
It was likely they were considered very reliable up until that point, and the company had no choice but to get rid of these things.
I'm sorry. What would possess you to get into something that had this kind of, that could do something like this?
We're also talking about a company that is very scummy and is half ran by a guy that killed 5 children.
Okay, let's go.
It was a slow death, but eventually he began to feel cold. He could feel everything getting heavy, and within the space of a few minutes, Mike was finally awarded the sweet release of death. As the employee came rushing into the room apologizing for her lateness, prepared to rehash the story of the child who couldn't find the toilets, she instead stood paralyzed at the monument before her. The Spring Bonnie costume standing tall with a look of joy and cold happiness on its face, while at the same time, the lifeless skewered corpse of her former colleague dripped onto the floor, and pieces of his skin hung from the openings in the suit. She took out her phone and sent a text she hoped she would never have to send. It happened again. Check out this video for another great story, and be sure to leave a like on this video if you made it this far, please.
I'm sorry, I see somebody like that got like that. I'm leaving. We're done here.
Oh, yeah.
We're done
Oh,
here.
yeah, no one said that the, what do you call it, the rotation rate of employees coming in and out of Fazbear's is actually pretty fast.
I'm sorry, it happened again. It happened again. What? I'm sorry? I mean,
he He's using Mike as a test dummy for this, so it would make sense.
We do not need to have this happen more than once, ever, under any circumstance. I'm sorry. I don't care what you tell me. Dude, no. No.
I mean, it makes sense they would probably keep using them because we're talking about a company that
I'm not dying in a bunny outfit for $7.25 an hour. You can go to hell.
Yeah, we're also talking about a company that also sells flash photography flash photography cameras in an area that says no flash photography, and then confiscating them and reselling them.
That's actually pretty good. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. And they have equally scummy practices like that, and this is an entertainment company.
Yeah. Well, Disney. Anyhow, oh my God. No, just no. Just no. Warpugs, this is why people with my native accent do not die in horror movies. Because if you ask somebody from my neck of the woods to get inside of that contraption, they would take one look at you and tell you exactly where to stick it. Because that's just that is just utterly insane.
Keep in mind, this series was made by a guy that did Bible Christian animations.
Well, friendly Freddy Fazbear's here to tell you all about Jesus. Now scream to him because you're gonna meet him soon. Oh my goodness.
Are you ready for Freddy?
I'm here to tell you about the good surgeons of the Lord. Warpugs.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is why we can't have nice things. This is why. If you ever wonder to yourself, really? Because
I'll be honest, though. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll be honest, though. Honestly, this is probably the only reason we have nice things, because this killed the guy that killed those children.
Oh, well, screw him.
Oh, yeah, no, and then he went on to possess the suit and got walled off in that same room he died in for 30 years until the company came back and decided to use his corpse as a horror attraction in the third game.
Okay, yep, I think I'm good here. Warpugs. All of Mr. Illustrated's links are going to be in the description down below. I will put a link for my eventual therapy that I'm going to need because you guys keep on trying to get me to play Five Nights at Freddy's, and I don't want to play.
I highly suggest FNAF World. It's not horror.
No.
You're good. I'm
no. No. That is a no, Ghost Rider. Guys, I am not friends with the bear. I'm not friends with the duck. Or the weird fox that thinks it's a pirate. I'm especially not friends with the goddamned rabbit. Okay? The rabbit can burn in hell. For all I care. I do not see the bodies in the water.
Do you see the bodies in the back room? Stop it.
Warpost, I'm out of here. For myself and Meep. Say goodbye, Meep.
See you when I'm in the water. I don't know. I tried thinking of something funny, but I already fumbled it. Anyways, y'all have a great night.
Sag.
Or great morning, or whenever you're watching this.
I'll catch you guys next time.